Hi, y'all. We as live can be. I'm coming to you on Mother's Day, actually, early in the morning. Well, it's noon, but we get to it when we can get to it, right? I want to thank my mentor, amazing woman, Lauren Matoya, for nominating me to do this, to speak to you guys about staying self-centered and nourishing your self-love, being in the STEAM fields. Man, my whole life is a testimony to developing and self-love and staying centered. So I have lots to say. But we about to get hot, y'all, which, as my pastor says, is honest, open, and transparent, okay? And being transparent, I have a family member, my dad, actually in the hospital right now because he's not been self-loving himself, right? Not taking care of himself. So I believe in divine timing, and I was gonna record this a lot earlier when I was kind of on the highs of life, right? I just gotten asked to speak, and I'm like, yes, I've been preparing for this moment without even knowing. I had gotten connected with someone, a principal of a school, it just sounded like a dream job, who's going to be a friend to me, and she's just so amazing. Everything I've been praying for as I moved to a new city, Chicago. That's where I was born, but Seattle, Washington, Maple Valley to be exact, is home for me. But I decided just recently to move to Chicago, stepped out on faith. So I've been out there, but yeah, a little bit about me and how I'm in the STEAM field. So I work in ABA, which is Applied Behavioral Analysis. And if I'm looking around, it's because I'm looking at my notes, which applied behavioral analysis is basically a type of therapy. So we use positive or negative reinforcement to improve our clients' social communication and learning skills, right? I am a registered behavior technician, so I work under a BCBA, which is the board certified behavior analysis. So I collect the data and maintain the relationship with the parents, because my clients happen to be children. Usually my medium that I work through is kids who are on the autism spectrum or on the spectrum in general, just have intellectual disabilities, right? So that's kind of what I do. I basically carry out the legwork. Like, the BCBA creates the treatment plan and I implement it. So I do kind of the day-to-day work and give those direct instructions to the client and stuff, which, if you really grasp what I just said, whew, very hard job. You have to have a passion. You have to know your why to do that job and to actually enjoy it and come every day refreshed. So kind of the principles of ABA, we kind of understand or try to understand and manipulate behavior, because what ABA teaches us is that there are a couple functions of why we do what we do, why our behaviors occur, which are either escape/avoidance, access to attention, access to tangibles like toys, so an item, or sensory stimulation, so a person's own movements to feel good, like that help them feel good to that stimulation. So kind of regulating your body, right? Like sometimes we call it stemming. So kind of like shaking, or like they like to be touched to kind of just regulate how they feel, right? And so I say that my purpose in life is to help people do their work, right? Help them become the best version of themselves. And the medium that I want to do that through is talk therapy, one-on-one talk therapy, with a Christian perspective, because I am a Christian church girl through and through. And he has brought me through some things, so I'm going to honor and teach everyone I can about him, right? To make their lives the best possible spiritual life you can have. But yeah, and so graduating from college, so like I said, I live in Maple Valley. After high school, or in high school, I took an AP psychology course, right? And the teacher was just so awesome, and we were studying the nature versus nurture debate, right? Which is kind of just telling you, how do you become who you are, right? Which is such a big question, but it's like nature. So is it your genes? what you get from your parents, from mom and dad, what's already inside of you on a DNA level, or is it nurture, the environment you grew up with? So like being adopted versus like, so we studied like people who were twins separated at birth, right? And one lived in one home, one lived in the other. And we studied like, and we looked and read about, wow, some of these people are the same person, even they grew up in completely different homes. So the genes played a role, or they were completely different because they grew up in separate areas. Twins, same genes, but completely different people. And I just found that so fascinating. And I'm like, yes, like this is what I want to do. I want to continue to learn about people, and also because I wanted to understand myself, okay? But so yeah, that's kind of a little bit about me and what I do in the STEM field, and kind of, we're shifting over to how I got to where I am now in my path. So yeah, I moved to Seattle in the 3rd grade, took the AP psychology course in high school, and I was like, love it. And for me and my family, furthering your education is a big thing. And I always wanted to go away because my mom and dad had both gone away to college, and I'm blessed enough to be able to do that. So I applied everywhere over the world. I was like, I just want to get up out of here. Okay, I do not want to go to school with everyone from high school. As much as I partly loved high school, I was like, no, I want to adventure, and also I wanted to be independent, right? Get out from under mom and dad and do my own thing, which sounds great in theory, but for any of us who are doing it, we know being an adult is not easy. So cherish your innocence, guys. I'm gonna tell you that right now. But yeah, and so I landed at the University of Alabama. Roll Tide, for anyone who knows. I knew that since I was going so far away, I wanted to go to a school that was kind of big and fun, and they have like the #1 football team, right? Not to toot our own horn or whatever. And I was like, oh yeah, this will be a great school. I won't be too homesick, right? So yeah, University of Alabama, that was kind of the only reason. Everyone always asked me, why did you choose Alabama? And I was like, why not? Right? If I could go, I'm blessed enough to go, why not? So yeah, and my major was psychology. At the time, I was considering more med school. Like I've always loved kids, so I was thinking maybe becoming an OBGYN or pediatrician mostly. But I really love that human face-to-face interaction. And I don't know if you guys have been to the doctor recently, but it's kind of becoming more just like behind a computer screen, just like you're just sitting answering questions on the computer. There's not really any personal connection and stuff. So I was like, maybe not. Let's pivot. So I kind of pivoted and had psychology, that background, with a minor in biology because I started in biology. So I graduated with my BA, Bachelor's of Arts, major in psychology, minor in biology. So which is very helpful for any field where you're furthering education. So just to know that thing, kind of have some background knowledge, I love that I have that. And then, okay, so I'm reading the questions that they've given me. So what does self-love mean to you? Ooh, such a big question, right? Especially as a 24-year-old Black woman, very weighted question. To me, in this season of my life, I wrote down acceptance, gratitude, peace, and joy. So acceptance. For me, my kind of journey with being self-centered and self-love and nourishing myself and my soul and my spirit, mind and body, right? Sometimes we're constantly being told, oh, you just, I love me. I love my roles. I love that I don't have the perfect body, or I love my imperfections. And it's like, I started saying that to myself, right? Kind of fake it till you make it, right? And that can work, right? Our brain is naturally a self-fulfilling prophecy. So if you're telling yourself something, self-affirmations constantly, your brain's going to look for context clues to make it true, actually. So that can work. But then, you just get in a season, whether it's seasonal depression because there's not much sun, vitamin D out for us, or just something bad happens, like a family member goes to the hospital. Those self-affirmations that you don't really believe about yourself don't really work that well, right? To be honest. And then you're like, okay, I need to be honest and transparent, open and transparent, right? With myself, and say, look in the mirror, I don't really love this. Man, my eyes are kind of small. Like, what is going on? Like, you can see all the imperfections sometimes, and we're so critical of ourselves, right? But acceptance, right? Sometimes body acceptance is more important than body love for some people. Saying, okay, I see you jiggle, but arms, thank you for being able to reach and do this. Thank you for being able to pick up a pen so that I can write, right? Like, thank you for carrying me all of my life. Thank you for being able to do a push-up. Maybe not many, but you can do some, right? Accepting where you are in this season and loving what your body has carried and done for you through time, right? And I'm telling you, as you get older, your body's going to keep changing, and you can mold it and shape it in whatever way you want. But sometimes it's like, okay, life is a journey, life is a process. Make sure you're enjoying every part of you in every season, right? Because for me, I look back at old pictures of myself in high school, where in high school I was so convinced that I was just so fat. And I'm looking at these pictures like, dang, I wish I looked like that now. Like, what? I didn't know what I had. And, compared to everyone else in the school, I was bigger, I was thicker versus the little skinny, you know, model type that was popular back then. And they were just happened to be leaner, thinner. We all have different body compositions. So I struggled with body dysmorphia because what I was seeing, what was being praised in the media, and what kind of the general body type that I happened to be surrounded with just didn't match mine. So I was convinced that I was just so huge. And it's like, no, you just kind of had boobs compared to everybody else. You just had boobs and a little bit of a pouch and belly, which is fine. Accepting that, okay? And then gratitude. I cannot tell you, gratitude is the answer. Being thankful for any and everything you have, right? Because if we're being honest, no day is promised, right? And if you really look at your life, whether you're reflecting on the past or even where you are right now, right? One, we just survived, and if you haven't realized, yes, we are on the outside, coming on the out of the hill of a global pandemic, right? A lockdown, a quarantine, and we're still here, and that is not by mistake, right? There's a reason you are here. There's a purpose and plan and calling over your life, and just being grateful for that, grateful for breath. I'm grateful that I can stand up, okay? Hey, I'm grateful that I can move my arms, okay? I can jump, I can, speak. That, thinking of the privileges that we're rewarded of having, if you are completely able-bodied, mobility, right? To move, to breathe, that there's breath in your lungs. That is not by mistake, and that is a gift. Never forget that. Those are things that you can hold on to when you're struggling, right? Peace. Peace and joy, they kind of go hand in hand. And I wrote that don't come from the world, so the world can't take it away. You might have just missed that, right? Peace and joy, a peace and joy that passes all understanding, and it can't come from the world. Because if it doesn't come from the world can't take it away. I get my peace and my joy from God, my spiritual source, which is so important if you don't have a spiritual source, and that can be anything, right? It doesn't have to be, religious based, right? I consider myself a spiritual person, not a religious person. Just the distinguishing between that, the difference between those two is just that I'm not so type A regimented with my spiritual practices anymore, and I'm more open and broadening my horizons and what I listen to and what fuels my soul, right? I think sometimes in the church we can be a little too do this, do that, or it has to be like this, and life is just not perfect that way. And as life goes on in the 21st century, there are just so many more avenues and things that we're learning that we can utilize to help self-nourish our souls and keep us centered. I've actually just kind of dived into astrology. I am a Scorpio sun, Sagittarius moon, Virgo rising. For anyone who knows about that, you probably just completely understood who I am in a nutshell. And I was about to read my little co-star app info to you guys about that, but maybe we'll save that for a later date. If you want to connect, we can definitely do that because I'm trying to learn more about that stuff. But yeah, that peace and joy. Since I get mine from God, when I'm at work and a coworker is just woo, okay, not being so polite, right? Getting on my nerves, or even my clients. I work with behaviors, right? Maladaptive behaviors, meaning my client may be hitting, kicking, screaming, spitting, or even they could just give you that, I said no. I'm, I'm not, who are you talking to? I know you're talking to me. What? No. I know this little 6-year-old not just telling me no at 24. Who does she? And then you have to go, centered. I'm centered. I'm not going to come out of myself in front of this little child, in front of these people. Tensions run high, and I also try to extend grace and mercy to any and everyone, and of course to ourselves, right? Remembering and always being cognizant of the fact that we all have our own filters, right? Based on the trauma and life experiences and things that you've gone through in your life that most people, general people, don't know that you've gone through unless you share it with them. You constantly have a filter, right? Well, based off of the defense mechanisms you use to get you through that season, just so your body could survive, right? So always being cognizant of the fact that sometimes you filter things. I filter things through my personal insecurities sometimes. So I love to joke around, but sometimes, it can take it too far and people get offended by that, and everyone's so sensitive these days. And I try to be, and because I'm an empath, right? I feel people's emotions, and I take them on, and I always want people to generally feel good. And I mean, like, deep rooted emotions, connecting on a personal level, not just surface talk. Because I'm an empath, I constantly am trying to be careful of people's feelings. Almost sometimes feels like walking on eggshells, which is a hard way to be. It's an amazing tool to have to connect with someone on an emotional level and to really heal people, right, through this emotional connection. But it's also can be a burden, right? But because of that, because of people's feelings and insecurities and things that we filter our own life experiences through, it's so easy to, oh, someone so said this, and so they think I'm incompetent, they think I'm dumb, or they don't like me. And it's like, no, maybe you don't like you right now. Right? If we're being completely honest, I told y'all we're about to get honest, okay? So and be real open. And I had to learn that about myself. I was like, and I haven't always done this, but in this most recent season of my life, kind of after college, I was being a victim in my own life. Kind of just, I don't know if anyone watches Law and Order SVU, but victims, right? That's my show. It was kind of always like, well, they did this to me, and so now I'm like this. But and it's like, well, okay, maybe they did, right? And maybe they did have bad intentions when they said that comment to you. But so what are you going to do about it? Are you going to sit and sulk? Are you going to let that carry into the rest of the next 90 years of life? Or maybe even a year? Anything more than probably 20-30 minutes is too long. Ruminating on problems and something someone said. There is one person in middle school, I remember, on the bus. I remember his name and everything, but I'm not about to give him no publicity. Called me fat, said that I looked pregnant. And I realized through my own self-reflection that I've been carrying that throughout my whole life. That was like 10 years ago. And even though it's not constantly in my brain, right, I don't always hear that comment, I realized that kind of set in motion the self-awareness that, oh, I don't look like everybody else. I'm not the norm. I'm not what society says is beautiful. and just a snowball effect of me being insecure, right? And which is not a fun place to be. So through this self-reflection and realizing, oh wow, I got some insecurities that I need to deal with, and they come up through different seasons. You can't go through a lockdown and quarantine without realizing, oh, why do I do that? Why do I binge shows all day in and day out, right? And I'm like, and it's so divine. Nothing's by mistake that I got into ABA, the functions of behavior, right? Escape, avoidance, access to attention, access to tangible sensory stimulation. I personally use TV and shows as my escape. I escape into the world of Grey's Anatomy, into SVU, and live vicariously sometimes through these characters because I was too afraid to live my own life, too insecure, or whatever it is, right? And that's what comes into play with this next question. What are your self-love and self-care practices? And so what I wrote down, just as some bullet points, and then we're going to talk about them. First one, social media. Who I follow, who you follow. Most recently, and I mean like within like the last couple months, I realized, and I had to shift who I follow on Instagram, mostly Instagram, because that's where I really read captions and stuff. Changing that to positive people, like some people that I recommend: Tabitha Brown, Kev on Stage, so many more. Demi Lovato. I don't know if you guys have seen her documentary. Wow. People who, Ashley Graham, people who are positive, have gratitude for life, but also are real, right? I always sometimes, I used to judge people who were just so chipper and happy all the time. I'm like, that ain't really you. You ain't really that happy. You being fake. I know you ain't really that happy. Like, come on. But some people really are. And I can say I've actually become that annoying person in this last couple weeks once I really reconnected with God and started believing what He says about me, right? But that goes into social media, who you follow. Who are you listening to? What are they saying? Does your village, your tribe, your posse, your squad, the people that you follow on social media, do they really have your best interest in heart? Right? Are they feeding your soul? Are they speaking positivity over you? Are they encouraging you? Are they there when you're down and out? Right? Who's there for you? Who's your true circle? And I'll tell you, as you get older, there's going to be a time where some of the people that you grew up with in middle school, high school, kind of fall by the wayside, or you just kind of grew apart and didn't grow together, right? And that's okay. But that's why you have to make sure that whoever you're following, whoever you're listening to, because I know sometimes this is social media age, right? Sometimes we don't always want to deal with people, or people are flaky, and we realize that, so we go to social media for comfort. What's the comfort that you're reading? What are they saying? Okay. Second point, TV. I spoke about how I like to binge and watch shows. What are you watching? What is the premise of that show? I love Grey's Anatomy. Okay, and that's kind of what honestly spurred my interest in the medical field, which is a great thing. But also, if you know anything about Grey's Anatomy, it is drama. Okay? People dying and losing kids and all this craziness. And I realized, I'm like, I somewhat have a fear of surgery now. Like, God forbid I ever have to have surgery. I'm a little fearful of that. And there's other factors that come into play with that as well. But it's like, okay, if you're watching a show, like, how is it affecting you? Reflecting, looking inward and saying, Law and Order SVU, where people are sexually assaulted pretty much every episode. Okay, it's for some reason really interesting to watch, and as a woman, being aware, and I love the way that they frame it now and from a positive aspect, and kind of victims becoming overcomers and not living in victimhood. But at the same time, it's like, these are some traumatic experiences, okay, that I'm watching every week like clockwork. That has an effect on you, and don't think that what you watch doesn't. So kind of reassessing and saying, what do I watch? I either watch really dark stuff or kid stuff. But me and SpongeBob, man, I am a goofy goober till the day I die, okay? And if you are, we can be friends. And even if you're not, we still can be. Next point, mindfulness. So mindfulness for me, right? There's tons of apps and videos that you can watch, and I may show some as well at the end. But mindfulness for me, just being present in the moment, closing your eyes, wherever you are, because we can't always just be in a quiet room, right? Depending if you have a whole bunch of siblings or, parents are at work or school or whatever, just taking a moment, even if you can't close your eyes, but just being cognizant of the fact, I'm here, I'm in this moment. I'm so grateful to be here. I'm so grateful that I get to learn and have an education. I'm so grateful that I get to be with my friends right now, even though my sister and my brother are annoying the heck out of me at home, and they ate my food, and I hate when they do that. And or my parents, don't give me an allowance, or oh man, I wish I had a car and I could drive, or I wish I could just get out and go back to normal, not have to wear a mask everywhere I go. I wish that racism wasn't such a huge issue. I wish that politics wasn't such a huge issue, and or at least a negative perspective on it. I wish there was just more good in the world, being present and cognizant in that moment, mindfulness for me, but still, even with all of those distractions, vying for your attention, trying to push you to anxious and anxiety, trying to push you to depression, right? Coming inward and saying, I'm alive, I have breath. There's nowhere I need to be, nothing I need to do right now to be in this moment with myself. Mind, quiet down. Body, quiet down. My body is blessed. My mind is blessed. I'm focused. I'm here. I'm present. And even when those other thoughts, those distractions come back in, because they will if it's your first time, or even if it's not your first time trying it, recognizing that they're coming in and then saying, okay, going back to my moment. That's mindfulness for me. I'm going to be honest, I probably have some definitions written everywhere, but I'm just kind of going with the flow, okay? And like I said, hot, honest, open, and transparent. I don't always have proper definitions going through my head, so I'm just kind of telling you the day-to-day, the real of what I do and how it makes sense to me. And then the next point I have, affirmations and mantras. So, I repeatedly speak them over myself, talking to myself the way God talks to me. And like I said, God doesn't have to be your focus. I would have highly recommend it, but what do you believe about yourself? What are you constantly saying to yourself? Going back to the brain being a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? The brain, okay, so someone that I read a book from, Jim Quick, he works with celebrities like Will Smith, actors who have to memorize all of these lines, right? It's like, how do you do this? He helps them learn faster, learn better, and he, studies the brain. And just practical things, like he has a book that I'm going to read, I haven't read yet, but I will, Limitless, I believe it's called. He talks about how the brain, so his sister wanted him to get her a puppy. So in their text, she just started randomly sending pictures of a dog. And he's like, why is she sending me this random dog? I don't remember what color, but let's say for this instance, it was a poodle. Just randomly sending pictures of a poodle. And she's like, with no context. So he's like, what? And then all of a sudden, he'd be going on his everyday walk that he always goes on. And he started noticing, there's a poodle right there. That poodle's always been there on its walk as well. It's always lived in the neighborhood, but now all of a sudden he's noticing it, right? And it's because his sister had put that stimuli in the group chat, so now his brain is picking up that in his environment, right? So in the same way, in that instance with that story, planting that seed in his mind, we plant seeds in our mind all the time by the things that we speak over ourselves, the things that we hear people saying to us, right? I learn a lot through music, right? Music is kind of my medium where I can connect and with myself and just feel good. It really speaks to my soul. So I don't think sometimes we realize the power of lyrics, right? I don't know if y'all know who Lil Uzi Vert is. Most of you probably do. I don't remember what his song is called, but it's like, push me to the edge, all my friends are dead. Just like real depressing, suicidal type stuff. Like, let's be real, let's call a spade a spade. Like, or even like certain like hip hop and rap, and like I'll be with it because I'm like, hey, you know, I like a nice beat. But when you really think about, and I always tell myself, I'm like, I don't really listen to the lyrics because the lyrics don't apply to me, right? But if you really think about the fact that you're listening to a certain song over and over and over, that's going to have effect on you, whether you realize it or not. Okay, so what are you listening to, right? Affirmations, mantras, what do you say over yourself? I believe that, you know, God created me in his image, and I am beautifully and wonderfully made, right? That I don't have to be anxious, don't have to be worried, because he's got it all figured out. He, you know, he has a purpose and plan for my life, and I'm just walking in it. Of course, I have my own free will and make my own decisions, but he's so good. He already knows what I'm going to do before I even do it. I still have the choice, but he's like, I knew you were going to do that. I knew you were going to fall there. But I still have an amazing thing for you. And I covered every mistake you'll ever have. If you really think about that, him dying on the cross for any sin that he's our Lord and Savior, we're good. What? That's crazy. That's crazy. To have that comfort and that trust in something, and to be able to speak that over myself, that, you know, as long as I love God and love his people, I'm going to the pearly gates. I'm going to be in heaven with him, because I confessed with my mouth that he died on the cross for me, and I believe that. Right? There's nothing I can do, nothing that I can say that will take that gift away. And I think we get that misconstrued sometimes. Yeah, just knowing that that's an affirmation that I speak over myself, a mantra that I speak over myself, that I'm good, right? And I'm not someone who's memorized Bible verses. I'm going to be transparent with you, so I don't always have those exact words, right? But I still know in my soul that I'm his and he's mine, right? And part of him is within me. And so I'm always going to be good no matter what comes against me, no matter what trials and tribulations come against me, or my people, or my family. No matter how much it hurts, no matter how down I get, he's always brought me back out. As long as I trust in him and believe he will do it, it works every time. And then the last point, doing nothing. Yeah, I said it, doing nothing. Just being. You know, that's something that my mom actually learned through her own journey with therapy. You know, and I'm kind of like her in some ways. You want to do this and help everyone and fix everyone and try, and then like, it's like, well, okay, so I put the kids, I put my spouse, I put my job, my schooling before everyone else, and it's like, well, where do I fit in? I'm last, right? We put our friends, we put our family, our siblings, our pets, school, work ahead of everyone, and then it's like, oh, we gotta find time for ourselves. No, you should be first. You can't nourish yourself and stay centered if you have nothing left to give yourself, because you gave it all away already to everyone else, right? I like to say my cup runneth over, from Iyanla Vanzant. What comes out of the cup, that's for y'all. That's for everybody else. That's for you to give away. What's in the cup is yours. Do not let people empty out your cup. Do not give more than you have to give, because then you make that person a thief, and they don't even know it. They don't even know they're stealing something from you that you needed to be good, right? So sometimes just do nothing. Just be. Just be. That's all. Just be. And then next question. What are some examples of instances in your life when you struggled with self-care? What are some examples? Okay, about to get real. All right, so my first bullet point, college. And I wrote under that, a cognitive dissonance from the people I chose to surround myself. And that's a big word. I don't know. I was trying to be extra with that. But just meaning, I knew very early on, like I said, I've always been a church girl. Like, I was always the one in high school trying to bring, let's go to youth group, guys, right? And then when you go away to college, most people, like, you know, they want to party. I party. I'm not gonna lie. I love See, I love connection. I love being with people, to be honest. And I don't like, I'm very, for me, you know, I just liked kind of creating a space and environment for everyone to have fun. I'm like, let's dance, let's, you know, that's me. So, but that's not the general person, especially not a college student. Like, let's be real, you know. So it was hard feeling like I didn't belong, right? And of course, I went away all the way to University of Alabama, so I didn't know anybody there. So I had to find my tribe, which was really hard. That first semester there, I definitely suffered from seasonal depression, you know, which of course, a scientific part of it, lack of sunlight affects our mood, not getting enough vitamin D, but also school and work, being in the STEM field, psychology and biology, that is hard. It always feels like there's something more to do, right? If you're starting to be an engineer, technology, computer science, a doctor of any sort, a mathematician, or even the arts, creating a space where people enjoy your art, you're gonna come against some things in your life, because it's not gonna be easy. But anything that's really worth it, anything that really serves you and serves others, it doesn't come easily. It's just the way it is. It doesn't come easily, right? It takes work. And I'll tell you this, just because it takes work, just because it doesn't come easily, doesn't mean it's not for you. But so yeah, that pressure of feeling like I didn't belong and how hard it was, and then the pressure to live up to the legacy of the women in my family. My mom was VP of corporate. Really think of the weight of that. And she, you know, went to college kind of with barely any money, not even money for books, right? She got a scholarship, I believe, and went to Tulsa for school and barely had any money for books, and was able to, through hard work, make connections and get to where she was. The first black female partner, I believe, at her first firm. Then getting this amazing offer to move out to Seattle for an amazing position, and then rising up through the ranks, right? So many firsts. She just got nominated as the first black woman to be nominated to the but yeah, like living up to that legacy. And almost every woman in my family has a story like that. So that pressure, right? Like, oh, this is just the way it is, right? And because of all of that, about to get real, I wasn't showering every day. I wasn't eating right. I wasn't sleeping. I wasn't getting proper rest. And by I say rest, you notice that I distinguish sleep from rest. Rest is not necessarily sleep, right? I get my rest in Jesus, my source, right? Spirituality. Rest is, goes back to that mindfulness or your spiritual source or something like that. That's rest. And I think we have to remember. Or, doing your nails, getting your face beat every once in a while, getting dressed up just so you feel good. That's what rest, what replenishes your soul, right? But yeah, I wasn't taking care of myself because I was just so overwhelmed and overworked. I had failed one of my first biology courses, and it's like, at first, biology was my major. That was my focus. That was what I was going to do. And I'm like, my God, I failed this course? What am I going to do now? Like, I can't cut it, and I just, was going out with friends, trying to fit in, and just not taking care of yourself. And there has to be balance with that. I'm not saying never party. I'm saying balance, but I didn't have balance, and it's very hard to have balance as a kid. But something that I learned, and how I stay centered and not falling back into those ways now, the importance of a routine. Okay, so what does your day-to-day look like? And knowing and giving yourself grace to know that the routine is going to shift and change, right? It's very hard to have a routine when you're in school, right? Actually, no, it's easier when you're younger, but in college, it's very hard. What time do you wake up every morning? Is it consistent? Are you the type of person who is running late usually, or are you usually pretty regimented about that? Do you wake up at the same time? Do you take a shower in the morning or night? Do you set your clothes out? Do you know what you're gonna wear before the day ends? Do you know what classes you have every day because you know your routine? When you come home, what do you do first? Do you sit and watch TV for hours? Do you get your homework done out of the way? Do you actually make a nice meal to eat, or do you go out to get some fast food and some candy? Are you drinking water? Like, are you getting on TikTok to watch videos because they make you happy and they help you escape from the pressures that you are facing? Are you getting out in nature, going for a walk every once in a while, getting some fresh air? What's your routine? What do you do? Is it keeping you nourished? So does it speak love and positivity over yourself? And then question 4, what is particularly difficult about STEAM fields in relation to self-care and staying centered? What's particularly difficult? I wrote, it's work. Period, blank, blank. It takes a passion. You must love it. You must have your why. And this is something I learned from my pastor, Michael Todd, for Transformation Church. So not only does it take passion, but sometimes passion even runs out. So you have to know your why. Why am I doing this? Why do I want to become an engineer? Is it because I want the salary that comes with being an engineer? Because if that's it, I'm telling you right now, that's not going to work in the long run. If getting the bag is your focus, you're never going to have enough. You're always going to have lack. You could always make more money. You could always get more accolades and prestigious awards and, being cool boardrooms and cool rooms, meeting new people. There could always be more. And if that's your focus, that's not going to work. I say chase your purpose, because if you chase the purpose, the money will chase you, right? If you're doing what you're called to do, what the plan and purpose for your life, what feeds your soul, you're always going to have a sense of somewhat joy and a peace, right? Because it's not coming from materialistic things. It's not coming from the reinforcement of someone saying, oh, that's so cool that you do that, right? It's coming from your why you do this, because you want to be an engineer and create machines that make life easier for people, easier for yourself, for your future family. That's why you want to do it. Or you decided, I want to, because we can't go to restaurants, we couldn't really go to restaurants in COVID, you realize, I want to open a restaurant so I can create an atmosphere where people can enjoy themselves. Things like that. What's your why? And then, so, what's also difficult about STEM? I wrote, every time in STEM, and particularly in STEM, so taking out the A, the arts, every time you accomplish one problem, you realize there's still so much more to do. You can get lost and overwhelmed. You can feel underappreciated. Being in psychology and biology, it just always felt like there was another exam, there was another thing to learn. And being in the science area, we have to keep current, because we're always learning new things, right? There's always things we're finding out. We learned that with COVID. Every day there was new information coming out, right? Sometimes you get overwhelmed in the fact that, man, there's always something new to learn, right? You never just have made it in science, right? There's always more to learn. And then feeling underappreciated. Sometimes these things are a thankless job. I can't tell you, I never thought to thank the engineer who created my car, helped build it and I never thought about that. I never thought about thanking the mathematicians who allowed us, who helped NASA, who helped us be able to fly a plane, to travel. It can be a very thankless job, right? Which is so hard. So that's why you have to know, again, going back to your why and why you're doing it, because sometimes you're not always going to get the thanks from your peers and from the world, because they don't even know to thank you sometimes, because we're always so focused on our own stuff, right? And then add in the A, the artist. Erykah Badu said, we're artists, so we're sensitive about art, okay? We're sensitive about, when you're an artist creating something every day, you're sensitive about it. And people love to critique, right? They love to put their little 2 cents on, like, oh, I wish you hadn't done it like that, or what if you added this color? Because I know, because I do it myself, right? We can be so nitpicky. So that can be very hard, right? And it's like, it's your art. You love it and you put your all into it and you thought it was great. And then you showed it to someone who just wanted to praise you and they kind of critiqued it and, put you down, put it down. It's like, oh, right? So again, you have to know, like, hey, I love this. Doesn't matter what they say. They may not love it. They may not see it just yet, right? You may be a pioneer for all you know, right? You may be doing something new, so it's uncomfortable, it's different, right? But as long as you love it, as long as it's serving your soul, nourishing you, keeping you centered, that's all that matters. And then question number 5, what is some advice you wish you would have received in terms of staying centered in STEAM? So I wrote, you don't have to be in STEM to have a fruitful life. Another point, you're not chasing the salary or accolades that comes with being a doctor, lawyer, etc., because it will never be enough, which we already talked about. And like I said, once again, reinforcing this, chase the purpose, not the bag. Because if you chase the purpose, the bag will chase you. And I can tell y'all, in this most recent season, I have definitely seen that in my life. Next point, just because it's hard doesn't come easy for you, doesn't mean it's not meant for you, right? A lot of us, have, as I study psychology, I know about intellectual disabilities, right? Different ways of processing. We all have different ways of learning, whether you learn verbally, auditory, visually. So sometimes with being in school, we only are taught one way. As we learn more and people kind of shift and become comfortable, they're making accommodations for certain people, but sometimes we don't even know that we need an accommodation, right? So being aware that just because something maybe isn't working for you the way that everyone else is doing it, maybe you just need to pivot. You just find out, okay, so what will work for me? How do I do this? How do I make this work for me? And then staying centered in the fact that you were called to do this and no one can do it the way that you do, right? As Moriah Holloway, even though there are people who have my zodiac sign, even though there are family members who have similar characteristics from me that I've learned behavior from them, I still have my own innate abilities, my own way of processing, my own way of viewing the world, that I can do things in a way that nobody else can. I can see things that most people can't see, right? I can understand it on a different level. And sometimes that can be frustrating sometimes, but I choose to shift my perspective and view it as a positive, right? Knowing that the path that I'm on, the things that I do, whether they're mistakes or even accomplishments, it's all by design, right? It's all a part of the plan, a part of the journey, a part of the process, right? And no one is going to have the exact same experience, right? We can all be similar, but everyone's experience is different because everyone is different. We're all unique. And accepting and loving that uniqueness and the fact that even though we're similar and we sometimes mold ourselves off the celebrities that we love and the people that we worship and wish we could be like, knowing that it's great to be you. Just be you, And number 6, the last question, how has your journey to self-love evolved? And how's it evolved over time? So I wrote down, started off materialistic. So my self-loving was kind of focused on the outside, right? This body, this hair, this face, all of that. And it shifted to the mental, right? What's inside, my soul, the inner workings. So before I was so focused on, gotta have my nails done because everyone else get my nails done, which they're not done because who cares? And I'm not really a nail girl. Hair, gotta have the perfect curls. For some reason, with the natural community, we're so focused on having the perfect hair, which this is rather cute, isn't she? But and then money. So I always wanted to, I've lived a very amazing life, very blessed life. So I was like, oh, I gotta make this my money so I can continue to live this life. and working out to have that perfect body. What was perfect at first was thin, wanted to be thin, then it was slim, thick, and and all that stuff. So working out to have that perfect body, it's like, you cute, girl. You look good, girl. Sometimes you just gotta look at yourself and say, girl, you look good. Okay? But now I've shifted to the mental soul side. So a video I like to watch on YouTube, Yoga with Jesus. So basically, it's just like a simple stretching routine as she speaks, kind of like, and has Bible verses on the screen, and just kind of just relaxing and remembering what, if you believe in God and what, if that's your spiritual source, what He says about you, not what the world and what you've been telling yourself. And then prayer. Man, I cannot tell y'all the power of prayer. Prayer will, I promise you, it works. It's the same thing as like if you heard of the placebo effect, which it's not that, but it's the same thing. If you believe it work, and if you ask God for something and you know and believe in your heart He's gonna do it, it's gonna come. It may not come when you want it to. It may not come even within a week, or maybe it might be a couple months. But if you are believing and just walking in your steps and walking in your path, and you praying and believing it's gonna come, it's gonna come. It's all gonna work out for you. You're good. Okay? And then go back to something I learned from Grey's Anatomy. Dancing and singing in my underwear, okay? And I'm talking about loudly. I live alone back in Chicago right now with my family, so somewhat tone it down. But also, I'm like, judge me if you want, I don't care. But just being comfortable in my body and just like being free and dancing. My friends have me on Snapchat. They don't see it, but they know. They've heard some stories. But just being comfortable, like you put in your ear pods or whatever, and you just dance and just feel free. Not worried about who's watching, not worried about how you're looking, I'm not worried about what's jiggling, what's not. Just dancing and feeling free and enjoying life. And then I wrote, to kind of close it out, only you know what truly feeds your soul. So constantly check in with yourself to see what you need to thrive. Live free and not just survive, right? We just came through a season of quarantine lockdown where people were dying, if we're being real. And even though a lot of the young people didn't face it, if you didn't know, and if you're not thinking it, life is precious, right? And choosing and living every day with joy and peace and seeing the good, right? Sometimes you have to focus on the positives and just laugh and at the negatives, right? Doing whatever you have to do, whatever self-defense mechanisms you created, using those to get you through, to be okay, just to enjoy life and be in the moment, right? I also wrote down, so it's all about, how do you define love? So an example for me, so I wrote how I've grown, how it's evolved over time. It's grown from me thinking self-love means I look in the mirror and love what I see every time. Going back to body acceptance, not always just I love everything, body acceptance. So growing from thinking self-love means I look in the mirror and love what I see every time, which isn't always the case. And I go back to the true definition of self-love, which is not about attraction. Sometimes self-love is self-acceptance. Like, again, don't love the size of my arms. But that's why I'm wearing this dress that makes me feel comfortable. My arms are covered, right? Makes me feel comfortable. But so sometimes self-love is self-acceptance. Like, don't love this part of my body, but I accept that. And in fact, I'm grateful. Thank you, arms, for allowing me to pick up my keys and drive to work where I can make money to feed myself, right? Thank you, arms, for allowing me to reach for that next couple of Oreos that I probably shouldn't have, but hey, do what you gotta do. Like, that's something I, actually learned from Lizzo. I know everyone loves Lizzo. How can you not love Lizzo? And if you don't follow her on TikTok, follow her, right? Thanking all parts of your body for the simple fact that they've carried you this far, just remembering to have a spirit of gratitude and love about yourself. What music are you listening to? For me, I love Maverick City music. And even if you're not a spiritual or a religious person, right, if you don't believe anything, the music that they have is just so prophetic. It just speaks such positivity of yourself, and anyone can relate to it. So I would definitely encourage you to do that. Starting your morning off with affirmations and things to keep you going and to set the tone for what your day is going to be. And just remembering, it's a joy to be able to have breath in your lungs, and every day is a gift. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got. I'm so grateful that I could mentor you guys, kind of. And if anyone wants to connect with me, of course, you can reach out to Lauren, the chair of Young Women Bio. I'm going to get plugged in, connected as well. But I would love to connect with you guys and continue to talk about this further, because I could go on for on and on and on. I could go on all day, but I'm going to stop it here. So, I wish you guys love and peace and joy. Walk strong. Bye, guys.